What he meant is that when they are devotees and when at the dawn of the golden age, that means that this transition from this demon culture now to the golden age will be less violent and less chaotic. Because we can see how nature is just pounding on the culture with all kinds of tsunamis and floods and earthquakes and storms and cyclones. When there's a cyclone and an earthquake, that's just Maya like pounding her fist into this culture. So we are definitely being punished. Of course, mainly I think personally, that's my speculation, that is because of all this slaughter that goes on in slaughtering so many animals. And it is stated it's the most sinful activity you can do is to slaughter a cow, is to kill a cow. It's as sinful as killing a brahmana, or even more sinful. So we live in a culture where it is such big business to kill animals. They kill at the rate they're going now. They kill right now 7,000 chicken a second on the planet. Can you imagine that? It's insane. What to speak of all the billions and millions and billions of cows and pigs and sheep that they kill every year in these death factories. So of course that's going to be very bad reactions, and that's why nature is punishing the modern culture. So the only hope, the only solution is the Hare Krishna mantra, are the devotees. We are actually the only ones who can help people and save them from the most bleak of, the most horrible of destinies. Because the modern culture simply takes people straight to hell, but because devotees on this planet, it is being mitigated. These horrible, sinful karmic reactions are being mitigated because they're devotees and they go on Harinam, they subject people to the sound of the holy name, they give them prasadam and all these things. Otherwise, we would be completely lost. So, of course, we can consider ourselves very lucky, very fortunate that we have met the devotees and we have met Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's followers and his glorious movement, ISKCON, and in this way we have been saved. But now it is our duty to save everyone else. That is the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to save these fallen souls. Because people are suffering horribly in the modern culture. So many problems. In Denmark, the rate of suicide amongst young people has increased. This cycle, these pills, the antidepressants, they are shooting through the roof. The last few years, I heard on the news, they sell more and more of these. So that means people are very depressed since they have to eat all these pills and antidepressants and more alcohols and narcotics are being abused in the modern culture by younger and younger people. So it is definitely not, and even the non-devotees, the materialists, they are pulling their hair and thinking, they can't understand what's going on and they're trying to find solutions. But like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, there are no material solutions to material problems. So they may mean well and try to solve all the problems of the modern culture, but they can't. We are the only ones who have a solution to chant Hare Krishna. And that gives us a very grave responsibility. And that's why I'm so impressed by you book distributors. You go out in this Denmark, which is the epitome of militia days, the epitome of a militia culture. And you go out in these Jiva books, it's just glorious, and you will get so much mercy from Srila Prabhupada by doing that. Prabhupada, he is so pleased. Sometimes devotees, they will come to Prabhupada and say, "No, we have done this, we have done so much." And Prabhupada, he said, "Very nice, now you're going to do more." Prabhupada, he was never satisfied with whatever devotees did. Of course he was satisfied and he encouraged devotees, but he had such a great vision, Prabhupada. He wanted to save the whole world. And just sometimes when we go through austerities to preach and to be devotees, we just have to think about Prabhupada, the hugest personal austerity he went through to come to the West and give us this knowledge. He went through so much austerity. In the beginning he was completely alone, staying in some loft in the Bowery with some crazed hippie. One time this hippie was on LSD and he chased Prabhupada down in the street in the middle of the night. Can you imagine that? Sometimes and this is also, we may think, why does Krishna let this happen to his pure devotee? But Krishna, he does this to glorify his devotee. You just see Prabhupada, how glorious he was, even in the most adverse of circumstances, he still kept on. At one point, when he was in America, at one point he had kind of lost hope because nobody wanted to listen, and the first few years nothing really happened. And later on he told his disciples that he would go down on the pier and the harbor and see when he could get a boat back. So how lucky we are that Prabhupada, he persevered and he went on, and then Krishna sent him some very nice young people and the Hare Krishna movement exploded. And Prabhupada knew exactly what he was doing when he went to America, because America is the #1 empire on the planet, and they have this, we are better than everyone else. I guess that's what happens when you're the #1 empire. Just like the Romans at one point, during the Roman times, they also thought they were better than everyone else, and they tried to take their civilization and push it on these other people. So the same also happens in America. So nobody could have helped Prabhupada spread the Hare Krishna movement so far and wide in such a few, just in 12 years when Prabhupada was here, the Hare Krishna movement was spread all over the world. And only the Americans could have done that with their, gung-ho mentality. Yeah. They could go out. Prabhupada would just tell a disciple, you go there, you go to Indonesia, you go to Europe, you go there, and they would go and they would try. All alone they would go and open up and sit in the street and chant and people would come. That's how Hare Krishna started. I could never do that, just sit alone in the walking street, with my kartals and chant Hare Krishna. But Prabhupada did that, and the first disciples did that. Like Shivananda, he went to Germany, and that's how the movement started in Germany. So Prabhupada, he said that what they do in America, they'll do in the rest of the world, and that's true. So we should very much appreciate these first disciples of Srila Prabhupada who spread the Hare Krishna movement far and wide. Like if Prabhupada had gone to Denmark or France or Germany, I don't think the Hare Krishna movement would have exploded all over the planet in such a short time. It needed the Americans. sometimes, personally I think Americans are the most brainwashed, idiotic, people on the planet. And we could say, whatever happens in America is very bad. But what happened is but the Hare Krishna movement came out of America. So in that way, the United States of America is very glorious. That they started the Hare Krishna movement and they helped Prabhupada to start this glorious movement, which is the savior of mankind. Especially in these modern times, it is needed more than ever, the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we are the, the budbringer. We are the messengers of that mercy. What is that word? Heartbreak. Those who carry something. It's a special word. We are the carriers of the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just imagine that. So sometimes we think, oh no, I can't do it anymore. It's too much austerity to be a devotee. But we just have to pray to Prabhupada and think that the austerity he went through to start the Hare Krishna movement. And then we can understand that what we have to go through is nothing compared to what he did and the first disciples did. They went through so many austerities. So we just have to think about that. And then Prabhupada said, whenever you have a hard time, whenever you're suffering, you should think of Krishna's smiling face. So we have Gaura here, and they're smiling so benevolently at us. So we should imprint their lotus faces in our mind and always think of these faces, the faces of Gaura when we go out. There they are. And visualize them in our mind when we go out on the street and preach, especially the book distributors. You should carry Gaura with you mentally and visualize them in your mind and think about their mercy when you go out and distribute the books. I remember when I was distributing books, I didn't distribute books to save people and to give them. I just wanted to be the best. Big false ego. Of course, at times went by, I did develop some compassion. And when you do like that, when you actually want to benefit people and save them and give them, and you know that if they take a book, they're saved. From then on, it's just a matter of time. They may not come and join the Hare Krishna movement or even come to the Sunday feast, but in the future, at some point, they'll become a devotee when people take a book. So we are definitely saving people. We're the carriers of the mercy of Sri Sri Gaura, and we carry that mercy far and wide out in the streets and distribute the books. Because Prabhupada, he's the mercy of Sri Sri Gaura, and we carry Prabhupada's mercy in the form of his books. So I cannot begin to express my admiration for what you're doing here in this ridiculous little land, Denmark. The weather is bad, the people are bad, the modes are bad, everything is bad, except that there's a temple in Copenhagen and devotees different places in the country. That's the only thing good. And that's not, of course, not only Denmark, that's all over the world. So, yes, thank you very much for tolerating my despicable presence and for your patience. Gaura, would you have a comment or a question?
I have a question. like sometimes when we're on the street we have like good and we have bad periods.
Yeah.
And when we have a bad period, then we tend to like get a little like, and like sometimes we think, oh, like I'm so fruity and I'm so like so filled up with the natas that actually we think just by approaching people we make them so averse.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you're in such a state of mind? How do you change it around?
You can't do anything but pray. You can simply just pray to Gaura, please, please help me. I am so fruited, I'm such a rascal, I'm so full of lust and anger and greed. I don't have anywhere to turn except your lotus feet. Please help me give the mercy of your lotus feet to these people. Because they are even worse than me. So like Jagadananda Pandit, he wrote a book, Prema Vivata, in which he says there's nothing you can do to get Krishna. Nothing, except one thing, that you can petition Krishna constantly. And that's what we do when we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, that there's a prayer to Krishna to become engaged in his pure devotional service. So that's the only thing we can do, is to constantly petition. That means to pray, to anmode Krishna to help us. So when we have a hard time on the street, because you're bound to have a hard time on the street, then there's nothing you can do except pray. So that's what you have to pray to Gaura, please, please help me to overcome all this garbage in my heart. And please help me so I can get through to people. I remember I started to, instead of speaking to people, you see a body, oh, he looks favorable, oh, she looks nice. You don't have to think like that. You should just direct your attention to the super soul in your heart and speak to the super soul. Because otherwise we become influenced by people, and they have so, some of them, sometimes of course they are nice people too, and they like us, but we also meet some nasty people and we become influenced by their nastiness. But if we speak to the super soul in their heart, it's a whole different experience.
I was also thinking, because Krishna, he says that one who is like equipoised in success and failure, he is very dear to him.
Yes.
So sometimes he gives us success and sometimes he gives us failure, and then we can like develop this like try to be equipoised and try to just go on even in failure. And
exactly. Because like we can see in Prabhupada's example, Prabhupada, he actually gives even his pure devotees, he gives them a hard time. Of course, you can't say that he gives Prabhupada a hard time to purify him, because Prabhupada is already pure. But he does it to even pure devotees, they have to be reminded that they are dependent on Krishna, I guess. Prabhupada, he said there was never a second in his life that he was not conscious of Krishna. So we can't say that Krishna does it to purify Prabhupada. But Krishna, he gives even his most pure devotee, eternally liberated souls, he gives them a hard time sometimes. And he does that to increase our longing and our attachment and our dependency on Krishna. So when we experience a hard time on the street, that's the time when you have to, like you say, be equipoised and not be discouraged. But just accept, because if we can see even the bad, the good, that's a devotee. He sees the good and the bad, whatever happens, he sees this as Krishna's mercy. And Krishna does that when he does gives us suffering or difficulties, He does it so that we will become purified and increase our dependency on Him and our consciousness of Him. Everything Krishna does, because as devotees, even in the beginning stage, it is not anymore our karma that gives us suffering and distress. It is Krishna directly doing that. And He does it to purify us. And there's no more purifying service than going on the street distributing books. Like you can be in the temple and you can sweep the floor, or you can do so many things, and you can maintain your false ego. But you cannot go out on the street with a false ego. If you have a false ego on the street, Krishna will send you all kinds of idiots and nasty people. And to purify your false ego. So, and that's why it's such a glorious service, and that's why Prabhupada stressed it so much to distribute his books, because it forces us to surrender. And it forces purification. Because you have to surrender when you're out on the street. Otherwise you won't last for a day. You have to surrender. It's the only way you can go on distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. Martin?
Could you not say in one sense that is actually also applicable for all other services, like if you're sewing for the deities or pujaris? I mean, who wants to be on the altar every single day?
Yes,
Because
it's
really
very
wanting to
great.
make life if you are not enthusiastic and understanding.
Yes, it's
surrendering
definitely
what
true.
you're doing.
Like if you have a service and you maintain that service for a long time, that requires the great surrender. Like going on the altar every day, getting up every day, every morning and taking care of these, that's great austerity. So all services, they have their austerity, but when you go out and distribute the books, the purification is intensified, because then the purification is forced on you. Because you meet so many averse people who don't like us, nasty people. So, and we cannot let ourselves become influenced or discouraged by the nastiness of the material world. Because it's when we are out in the street with the books that we are in most close contact with the material nature. Whereas when you are in the temple, you are a little more peaceful, and but when you're out there in the street, you get a full dose, and that's why you have to. The purification is intensified.
But one can also say that in the temple you have to be extremely self-motivated in order to keep up your enthusiasm. After all, when somebody does take a book on the street, there's such a sweetness to it that keeps you also going like that. So
the reward is great. The reward may not be the same when you are in the temple and you have swept the floor. Nobody comes and says, "Oh, you swept the floor so nicely." But we should actually do that. We should encourage each other and praise each other's services. Because also those people who are in the temple, who cook the lunch and who serve the deities, they are doing that so you can go out and sell the books. So it's not that one service is better than the other. That's all services are equally glorious. What I'm saying is that by selling the books, the purification is more forceful. And in that sense, it is very pleasing to Srila. Of course, everyone pleases Srila Prabhupada by doing their service, by serving the deities and cleaning and cooking and doing all these things. but it's all like a cooperation for the preaching mission. Like Ranjit, when he cooks so nicely, that's very nice preaching because people appreciate Krishna. The devotees get enlivened and appreciate. So it's very nice preaching, even though he's not directly preaching to people, but it's very nice preaching. So that's also another thing, sometimes we can become proud by going out and distributing the books, because Prabhupada said this is the most important service, and we tend to think, and we maybe fall into the trap of belittling other services, but that's not how it is. We're just very fortunate, or you're very fortunate that you can go out and distribute the books, and that you have the nature, and it also requires a certain kind of nature. Not everyone can go out and distribute books. But it doesn't mean that if you don't distribute books that you're useless. Like Jahnudvipa Prabhus in Mayapur, as far as I'm concerned, they're some of the most pure devotees we have in ISKCON, especially Jahnudvipa. He's been in Mayapur for 40 years. Every day he's up from Mangalati serving the deities. Every day for 40 years. So that's definitely being steady. So he's a completely pure devotee. But he told me personally he never liked to go on these little books. He just couldn't take it.
He doesn't ever get sick? Or he just goes anyway?
He gets a little sick sometimes. You mean Jahnudvipa?
I was just saying, like, every day on the altar for 40 years without exception.
Yeah.
That is like, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Very impressive.
Yeah. That devotees like that, Jahnudvipa, same thing. Of course, sometimes, but as far as I know, Jahnudvipa, even though he is a little sick, he still gets up and does it. Jahnudvipa also, every day for 40 years he's been on the morning program. Somewhere. Of course, he's traveling and preaching, but he never misses the program. So these devotees are very, very special. And they may not be book distributors, but they're very pure devotees. But book distribution is special in the sense that it forces you to surrender and forces you to become purified, because otherwise you won't last long on the street. Because you cannot, I tried that, but after the first year I finally surrendered and I understood, no, I cannot go around with my big false ego. And that was Krishna who actually showed me, so I knew what to do. And I prayed to Krishna, please help me not be angry anymore at these poor souls. Because I was so angry at people. When they didn't want to take a book, what's wrong with you, idiot? Can't you see it's the best thing ever happened in your life? Here I am, I'm saving you from hell, and you say no. I was just, I couldn't stand people. I thought they were so idiotic. I wanted to beat them and smash them. And people, he sent me one idiot after the next, Krishna. Because Krishna sees, he sees, you have a big false ego, let me send you the next idiot you can be angry at, and the next one, and the next one. He would send me one after the next. Nasty, angry people I would also meet. But after I surrendered and I prayed, please Krishna help me to overcome this anger and this irritation.